Hey, everybody. All right. So, in this lesson, we are going to cover how to best support our students if one of two things are happening, if or either of two things. So, one is if our students appear withdrawn and not particularly interested in making music, how should we best respond to that? And two, if a student is maybe going through a lot and they're maybe talking over you as a result, and or maybe they're cursing at other students, or they're discouraging people or something, right? We want to be working to help support our students, help them feel like they're in a safe space. And also, if our students, like I said, need extra support, how can we be providing that extra support? So let's go after the first scenario where a student may come in, and they may seem withdrawn, right? Maybe their cameras are off and they're only talking a little bit, or maybe their cameras are on and you can tell they're not their normal selves. What we can do is we always want music to be optional, right? We want our students doing music because they love music or they want to be trying it out. If a student is withdrawn and we can tell that there's something there possibly going on with life, or their mental health or anything in that nature, we want to be nothing but supportive of that. We say, hey, we completely understand. We'd love you to try out music, and music's such a great way of like what I use music for, like trying to escape. But take a few minutes, man. Just be relaxing. You can listen to music, let us, and everything like that. We'll come back. The big thing when it comes to working with students who are withdrawn or going through something that day is making sure that they know that they're supported, that they're not pressured, that we're not trying to make them add their contribute to their stress. That we care about them as people first, second, and third. That we don't care about them as being a beyond the bar student or artist. We care about them being well, and that's what we care about for them. Um, but with that, that doesn't mean that we want to say, hey, we understand, and then not come back in and check on them, right? We want to be doing frequent check-ins with our students. So give them a little bit of time for sure. They maybe need some air, they need some space. That's totally cool. But then come back, maybe 10 minutes later, right? 5 to 10 minutes later, and say, hey, do you want to try out this one thing? And have a few different little small snippets of things you could do musically, that if they want to try, that they can. You want to be making sure that the door is always open, and then not even just the door is open, but that you're consistently inviting them in if they want to be consistently inviting them in while simultaneously letting them know they don't have to, right? In addition, use those check-ins to ask about other things. Like if they're not in music, or like they're not feeling music that day, that's okay. Talk about video games, talk about sports, right? Talk about favorite foods, right? Just try to talk about something else so that you're still working to bring them in, and let them know that you want them to be a part of our space, and that you care about them being a part of our community. Um, you can do all of those things, and a student can be withdrawn the whole day. That is understandable. Life is crazy, for in this world, right? And our young people go through so much. But as long as we're doing our job, I remember sometimes, in the early days when I was teaching, I would do a check in with a student, right, and they would be withdrawn, and then I would go focus on other students, right, and I realized, man, like, me saying I'm supportive of that student, but then not going back and doing more check-ins and trying to bring that student back in more times. Um, it's not always the best, right? And what I've done since is I've had students who are withdrawn, right, or going through something, right, and like I said, maybe by the end of the day, I got to know more about what their hobbies are, or favorite food, or we just talked, or we joked around, right? Maybe we didn't do anything musically, but we did something, right? And then we built a relationship, and like that person felt supported, right? Or sometimes, like I said, I've had students who were withdrawn, but then by the end, they would try out a different instrument, or they would try out a different thing. They'd rap over a song when they weren't wanting to play keyboard. They would just try something different, and they would still get something out of the program. So the key there, if someone's withdrawn, is to make sure that there's a lot of different like check-ins with them while giving them space, like giving them space, but then check-ins to talk about other things, or try out smaller versions of things and have more invitations to come back in with the rest of the group. But always kind of putting that in their hands. And then within Zoom, we can also be working to set them up with their own individual breakout room where you can talk if they want, right? But yeah, like I said, invitations in and check-ins while also giving them space is really the key there. So I know I was going to talk about if students are being, if students maybe are talking over you or something like that, but I'm realizing this video is running a bit long already. So we'll call it there. And that is how to work with if a student is withdrawn. Once again, that doesn't mean that we can do everything we're supposed to and the student's gonna not be withdrawn or still going through stuff, but we want to make sure that we're doing our part to show that love and support that we want to be demonstrating. All right, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.